This is Scott Richmond.
And Arnie Sherman.
You're listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM. Good Sunday morning to you.
How are you today, Scott?
I'm feeling okay.
I'm glad to hear that. And I'm feeling okay, too.
I knew you'd bring that up.
So, we have a topic that we're going to discuss today about the pharmaceutical industry in general. And I think I wanted to begin this discussion on a personal note.
Okay.
And I think a topic and an issue of mine that probably resonates with all of our listeners, bar none.
Gender inclusive?
No, yeah, totally gender inclusive. I mean, it's the issue of the cost of pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah.
So while I don't want to completely reveal my medical condition or situation on air,
HIPAA.
I do want to share a story about it, which I think ties into our guest later on. So I've been put on a number of prescriptions, but the latest one, which is a blood thinner, because my blood happens to be as thick as Italian sausage soup, but so they want to thin it out a little bit.
Marinara.
Yeah, like that, right. From marinara to something maybe more along the lines of, wine.
Right.
Give me a prescription of a well-known blood thinner, and I have excellent medical insurance. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. I have I pay a lot of money for it, as we all do. And I go and I pick it up at my local pharmacy, my first prescription, and it's with the deductions because I have a drug plan as well. It's $399 for a month.
Wow.
Of this. So I go back and I say, can we switch to something else? Can you give me paint thinner or something else? Can I drink grapefruit juice? I don't know. They said, no, this is the best prescription for you. $399 a month. And I can do the math. That times 12 is, a lot of money.
Almost $5,000.
Right? Yeah. So as you know, I go to Canada on business, and I stop in a pharmacy in Canada, in Winnipeg. And they have the same exact medication. Not from India, not from somewhere, in Malaysia, but it's manufactured at Pfizer in Ontario. Same exact prescription, same dosage, same packaging, and it's $114 a month in Canada.
Canadian or U.S.?
U.S. It comes out to $114 U.S.
Wow.
Right.
Third of the
So how is that? Why is that? And you can see why people, a while back, when Brian Schweitzer was running for the first time he ran for office for Senate, he took busloads of Montanans up to Canada to buy their medications. Their pharmacies look the same. Some of them are the same as we have here.
Right.
They have, Walmart pharmacy and, all that sort of stuff. And the price is 1/3 of what it is here. And I'm not saying that that's, political. I understand that pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer have to recoup their research costs and all of that. But this is for a mainstream job. We're not talking about cancer treatment, which could be, some people have $20,000 a month, pharmaceutical bill. So, it's just frustrating, and it's part of this whole discussion of Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act and replacement for this and pre-existing conditions and just the cost of medical coverage. And one of the things that I find very interesting in the general tenor of the discussion back and forth on what's good or bad or what's going to raise your rates or lower your rates, that the pharmaceutical companies and the health insurance companies aren't more of a target in this.
Right.
I mean, they control the prices.
They sure do.
It's not your insurance company that controls the prices. It's not you. It's not the government, to by and large. It's the industries themselves, and it puts people like you and I. I mean, I can afford the $399 or the $114, but there are a lot of people who can't.
I know.
So I just find that
they get away with what they can, right? The pharmaceutical companies, they'll push it to the limit. Like, why would they?
Well, I would venture to say that outside of oil companies and natural resources companies, the drug companies are the largest contributor to political campaigns.
Right.
I mean, you've seen the charts that show how much they give millions and millions of dollars, and who is the beneficiary?
Billion.
Yeah, who's the beneficiary of billions of dollars of election, financial support? Right. Not the average consumer, not you and I, for sure. So it's a frustrating thing on the Sunday morning as we get ready to talk to a couple of folks from Compound Pharmacy and talk about an interesting area that kind of dovetails into this, which is, pharmaceutical compounding.
Right.
Customizing dosages to the right strength for individuals. Right. Flavoring medication for children or even for pets,
right,
so they can take it. Reformulating drugs so that you can take out things like lactose if you're lactose tolerant. Changing of the formula for people who maybe have difficulty swallowing. There's lots of reasons why, and we're going to talk with our folks today about why customizing, pharmaceuticals to your need. It may cut down on the number of, pills that you need to take. It might give you the right, better concentration rather than the one side. I mean, most of the time when you look at it, you get 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, and
right.
That's it.
But I think one of the things that both Kathy and Philippa are going to talk about, because they also are overseeing the thermography side of the business, so they'll comment on the pharmaceutical side of things and compounds, and let her talk a little bit more about being a compound pharmacy in a town like Missoula. But they're also going to talk, I think, about other modes of health care and maintenance and therapy, which is really interesting when you start to look at what she's doing on that side of the business. So it's both the Montana Compound Pharmacy or Missoula Compound Pharmacy, but also this whole thermography center that she...
And what is thermography? I know we're going to ask them about
it. I would rather her answer because
you're not a trained medical professional.
I don't know this.
Right. That's why we have them here. If you knew it, we wouldn't have to bring them in.
So when we come back on What Do You Know, our guests will be Kathy and Philippa from the Compound Pharmacy, but more also the Thermography Center. You are listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, proudly sponsored and supported by Dawn Maddox, Glacier Sotheby's International Realty. We'll be back after this, talking drugs. Okay, we're having fun here in the studio right now at my expense, which usually is how it works here. But Philippa Crawford and Kathy Calcagno from Montana Compounding Pharmacy and Wellness Center on the Miracle Mile of Higgins Avenue or Road are here.
Thank you, Scott. Welcome.
So my old friends.
So we had a lead in. We just mentioned just generally the issue of pharmaceutical compounding. So the one question I wanted to kind of start off with is, what is it and why is it necessary?
He takes it, he breaks it up for you, he puts it in a capsule, he puts it in a cream, he puts it in a suppository, he puts it in liquid, so that you get the right dose in a way that you can take it. Because some people can't swallow pills either.
And can you also screen out part of medications if somebody's lactose intolerance or and has other kinds of...
I say yes to, we will use things that in making something for them that does not contain lactose, dyes, anything that they have allergies to.
And you can mix new compounds from already existing FDA-approved drugs, is that correct?
Yeah. Yes,
right.
Absolutely. We can take 4 or 5 of your drugs and put them together if you want.
And are you bound by the same rules and regulations that normal pharmacies are?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So,
highly regulated. Are there many compounding pharmacies here in the Missoula Valley, or you're really one of the only ones, correct?
No, there are a few.
There are, okay.
And do pharmacists have to get special training for this? To do the compounding?
To do compounding? Actually, all pharmacists have probably done some compounding or another.
Right.
For the kind of compounding that Tim's doing, you really do need to have some special training in that it changes, and so many things have changed. But if you go back in history, that's the way your drugs used to be.
I remember the mortar and pestle and the drugs.
Funny, you don't look that old.
I used to work at a pharmacy. My first job in high school was a pharmacy, and he was doing compounding.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, it's been done forever.
Great job, by the way.
Doctors have always had their own little,
And who's our pharmacist? Tim?
Tim Calcagno.
Okay, Tim Calcagno.
Right. So what is your relationship to the business in general, Kathy?
Okay. I do the books for the pharmacy.
Right.
But I own another part of the wellness of it, which is Thermography Center.
Which we're going to get to in a minute.
My cohort
and Philippa
works for both.
And what is your role in both?
I'm a thermographer.
Right.
And I travel a little bit with the business, thermography, and also office manager.
So thermography is know it I know mostly related to doing for breast cancer and that. Can you also do whole body thermography?
Yes.
Right. So are you trained? I mean, how did you get trained to do that?
Yes, they have a school, and the trainer came out and then trained me, so we learn how to. We don't do the diagnosis. We don't do the interpretation of the thermography. We have trained certified board medical doctors, but I was trained as a technician to be able to take the scans in a particular way so that the doctors could understand those scans, and then we relay that information to the patient.
And why are they different from normal scans that would happen in a hospital? Why would you go to the center to get a thermography?
It's a different kind of test.
Yeah.
It's a test of pathology. We're reading the heat of the body, looking for pain and pathology. If you have pulled muscle in your back, it would show up as red. If you've done something that has injured your shoulder or your arm, but your hands are numb, that would show up in blue. And sometimes they're looking for the source of where a neuropathy, which is a shoulder thing, comes from. So those are the different kinds of things that we can do. And we do not diagnose in that sense. In other words, if your colon's hyperthermic or warm,
right,
we just simply say, that's the results that we've found. Here are some possibilities. Here are the other tests to follow up with.
Right.
Oh, your heart is under functioning. You better go see the cardiologist. Or your carotid artery is blocked. Is it blocked? I mean, is inflamed.
Inflamed.
Is it a blockage, or is it a high level of C-reactive protein?
So how long have they been doing heat readings as a way to diagnose
Since
disease?
About 85.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been around a long time.
So you have a business that does compounding pharmacy, and then you're doing this sort of testing. But what else comprises the wellness center? What other things do you do? If I walked in the door and say, I need to be, I have medical issues, I have problems. What other things do you offer a client, patient?
Nutritional consult. You can come in, fill out some forms. Philippa and Tim go through them and come up with a protocol for you of what you're depleted in. Every medicine, by the way, that you take will deplete something in your body. So maybe you need a B complex. Maybe you need magnesium. Maybe you need folic acid. Just depends on what you're taking.
Do you do a big business in supplements as well?
Yeah, we do.
Upstairs in the compounding pharmacy?
We do. And we do a nice business, too, in essential oils. We have our own line up there.
Really? I didn't know that. So that's a pretty popular,
it is.
Product being sold, certainly through a lot of these pyramid-type companies.
We are not a pyramid company.
I know that. So tell us, what's the difference of what you are offering versus what they're offering?
Well, first of all, we're not pyramid.
Right.
Second, all our oils have been sourced by a gentleman who I have known for 30 years, really knows his oils, and the ones that he picks are the most beautiful, and we are always cognizant of trying to find things that are organic. If we can't find organic, then we go to wild, and if we can't get wild, then we go to unsprayed.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that's all our line is. We don't have oils that don't fit into that category.
So I want to focus in on one aspect of this. So somebody comes in, they're already being treated by a physician. They're on medications of some sort or another. Right. They've already had diagnoses of, and it's led to the treatment that they're engaged in. How do what you do interface with that? What if, as you evaluate them and say, well, maybe this isn't really the best, medicinal course for this customer, this client to follow? How a patient? I mean, what do you call your folks? Clients?
Patients.
Patients. How do you interface with the doctor and the history and all that? How does that come together?
It really works as a triad. It's the physician, the patient, the pharmacist. Try to remember that most physicians have only had 6 months of pharmacology.
Right.
So that said, if the physician is using the pharmacist to their best ability, they are conferring with them.
Right.
Not the drug reps.
Versus just writing scripts.
Well, what's interesting about all this is, most folks' contact with a pharmacist is waiting in line at Walgreens or, just filling prescriptions, right?
It's not what you get there. I mean, if you have a question, Tim's the first one up at the counter.
Right.
That's where he spends his time, is going through these with the patients, how to use them, particularly if they're creams.
So has he had special training to do this? Or is
absolutely. Yeah.
So this is beyond what a normal pharmacist would receive in pharmacy school.
I mean, he doesn't have to. He didn't go on for another year of pharmacy school.
Right.
He learned it when
this.
he was in pharmacy
Right.
school. But
Very consultative.
The organization that he belongs to, PCCA, started bringing compounding to the forefront in the early 90s. And they have a whole setup in Houston that teaches people how to compound, all the different things that can be done. So you go down there. We go down once a year. And
Refresher courses.
But am I correct in assuming that the change or the use of a new compound has to be agreed to by the physician?
Absolutely. We cannot. Yeah, we need a prescription from a physician.
But they'll often write a prescription specifically for the compound version of X. Mm-hmm. That's when I was a kid growing up and working at a pharmacy, the Rutgers University School of Pharmacy, which is renowned in the area, all the people that were coming out of that knew how to do compounding, and that they were trained in that. And they wouldn't hire people that didn't have. I mean, I wouldn't say they wouldn't hire people, but that was who they were going after. It was a feeder network to our pharmacy
they played
system.
a more active role in the medical process than most of them do now. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. That's how it used to be.
Well, actually, Tim has, when we were in California 21 years ago, the pharmacy there, he had students from USC School of Pharmacy that came to the pharmacy to learn. He does the same thing here for the University of Montana, taking students through. And because I don't know what, they may have a compounding lab by now. I don't know.
On the university campus?
I don't know.
And that's a pretty competitive school, for pharmacy. It's very few slots.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Highly competitive.
So how do patients get educated about coming in there? I mean, I've walked past it numerous times. You're
usually through their physician, because their physician wants something that's compounded.
And are there physicians that have a tendency to use compounding more than others, or are there some that don't use it at all?
I would say naturopaths more so than
Is that right?
mainstream medicine. Mm-hmm. Not that we don't get them. We also do stuff for animals.
Well, that's an interesting, and I would think for children, because often the doses for children have to be...
You can anesthetize the child with a lollipop. Yeah. I brought one for Scott.
I'm very sleepy.
Yeah, right. You're going to sleep now.
Have you ever tried to give a cat a pill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to anymore.
You know how do you do it?
You mix it up in a liquid that's in a small syringe, and you just stick it in the
squirt it in their mouth.
Squirt it in their mouth, and boom.
Or cream on the ears.
Or cream on the ears.
Cream on the ears.
Do you have cats, Philippa?
What?
Do you have cats?
Oh, yes.
I could tell by the way you were doing that tweaking of the ears.
Yeah, you knew. You've done it before.
I have dogs, too, just for those dog lovers out there.
So I want to get back. So in the wellness center.
Yes.
What are the other things that are offered? I mean, what's the range of things that are offered? You mentioned a little bit about supplements that can control weight and doing a sort of an assessment, so you could sort of the mind body wholeness kind of thing. Whole is great in the sum of the parts approach, but specifically, how does that actualize itself?
Going back to the supplements, something else that we offer is that a lot of medicines deplete nutrition.
Right. You were mentioning that.
We help them to say, okay, if you're taking hormones, you're going to be low on B, and you're going to be low on this and this, and to help them understand that, so that they can obviously feel optimal health. We also have the Biomat, and that's a wonderful, relaxing stress management mat that you lie on. It uses far-infrared therapy and negative ions, so you feel good like you're by a waterfall. And the far-infrared helps with balancing. It balances hormones. Because it's a stress, its basic premise is that it detoxes the body. By detoxing the body, then your cells talk to each other. Your blood flows better. You get oxygenation going, and so it just helps in lots of different
ways. Your cells talk to each other, Arnie.
Is there a home version of that for Scott?
Yes.
So we can sleep on it every
night.
It's
like your hip bones connected to you.
That's right.
What about folks that walk in and talk about, sort of I don't want to call them fads, but there are all kinds of, diets and lifestyles now, ketone based, and there are ones that are low carb, and I mean, there's millions of things that people are changing to in terms of a lifestyle. How do you respond to that? I mean, are there for example, for a particular patient, is a low carbohydrate regime the right course, and for somebody else, a vegan or a gluten-free.
Right.
I mean, there's so much of that going on. How do you know what works and
well,
what makes
most
sense?
of that's something they do need to discuss with their doctor.
Right.
Because of the, metabolic
But you're
issue
able to fulfill and implement.
But if they're on a kind of diet, then there are some things that you want to watch, So you do want your fatty acids if you're on a certain kind of diet. So there is information on that. But that's really a doctor.
Because you're talking about wellness, and there is a lot of I mean, you can go on any search engine, or you can look at any composite of articles, and there's always one every day about some kind of somebody lost 100 pounds on this, someone got healthier on this, someone beat cancer with this diet, all that kind of stuff. And how do you filter through all of that to figure out what is what makes sense? Sometimes
Dr. Pam Smith, who's a doctor, a pharmacist, a lecturer, writer, says it always comes back down to the basic nutrients, the vitamins, the trace minerals. So on every patient, she may do a blood panel on them, but she starts with the vitamins and the minerals because those are the building blocks, the amino acids. And then you go from there. So if the situation, and it's amazing as she gives these histories how they are so much better just by getting all
just started with the basics.
All the way, exactly, and then see what's left. So if someone comes and says, I can't sleep, I ask, do you wake up in the middle of the night, or can you not fall asleep when you go to bed? Very different things going on. So it's asking the questions. You want to lose weight? Well, what do you do at the moment? So then we find out
how things work together.
Exactly. So it's really the questions. So as Tim, when he does his work with the patients, you ask questions, and I do too. So it's like, what result do you want? What are you doing now? What else are you taking?
Right. I mean, and so some of these, and this integrated medicine approach works for things that are, for example, like fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. Do you have something that you recommend in that area? Because I know that's a very chronic thing, and there's articles that just came out now that say, it's cell-based versus, nerve-based. And
that's a yes. Certainly dealing with any inflammation, no matter what you have, is huge, because that is on course to a pathology. So if you can reduce inflammation, there are ways with curcumin, boswellia, other supplements.
That can do that.
That's key. That's first.
Right.
And then again, you see what's left. And that's a simple one because it doesn't interact with so many other things.
Sure.
Wonderful. You are listening to What Do You Know on KGVO. Philippa Crawford and Kathy Calcagno are our guests from Montana Compounding Pharmacy and Wellness Center. You could go onto their website at montanacompoundingrx.com, and they are celebrating an anniversary. We have an anniversary, right?
We do.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us what's going on.
I'm going to let Philippa take that.
Philippa's always
she's the one
in charge of social events. And anniversaries of social.
Didn't she graduate Hellgate High?
20 years. Tim has been in Missoula. I believe he's the oldest pharmacy here. And
the first compounding
pharmacy
only in Montana.
So this month we're offering classes by Margaret Coffey, who's an ND in town. And we've had successful classes so far on optimizing bone health. And again, there's just some things that you don't always think about that a naturopath's viewpoint can add to this whole look at health.
Sure.
Coming up is staying healthy while traveling, or if you're around your grandkids. Is it the plane?
I was reading it on your Facebook page, by the way.
I get sick all the time. I just had a flight a few weeks ago, and somebody was coughing the whole flight right next to me, and 2 days later,
hey,
boom.
Look, you could have your teeth knocked out, and you could have a bloody lip.
That's right.
Think yourself lucky.
But
and I could have got $20 million, and I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Did he get $20 million?
I have no idea what
Sorry.
he got.
So how can you make your body more resilient? So that's really where it comes. It's not about out there. And so she talks about that. And so we have them all month, except for Memorial Day weekend, learning how to build a healthy digestive system, about acid reflux. Actually a pretty easy thing to take care of.
Really? Because a lot of people are on prescription medication for that.
And actually pharmacists are on board about really educating people about that because it has so many other not so good effects. So
sure.
Is that right?
And yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are there any rules of thumb, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, of how much water you should drink on a daily basis?
He's looking for free consultation, or
I've gone in there before. They've given it to me.
The standard is, what is it, 8 glasses?
8 glasses of 64 ounces.
Of your body weight.
Do you subscribe to that, Philippa?
Yes and no.
What does that mean?
Some days she's good and some days she forgets.
Lugging lots of water, your kidneys don't have an opportunity to
process. Wow.
To process well. I'm not a doctor. Everyone this is
right. This is just your opinion. Right.
Your opinion.
Right.
But we trust you.
Yes, you need to stay hydrated. It makes such a big difference because, again, if suddenly getting a headache, the vitamins, the minerals, and water. It's amazing what water can do. But if you look at other health modalities, they'll say maybe not so much. So it really depends.
Is that right?
You can do a little skin test where you pull up your skin and it falls back slowly. You're dehydrated.
So during the celebration and these events, where are they all held?
At the pharmacy.
Oh, great.
At 111 North Higgins, downtown in the Florence building.
And do they usually at a particular time?
They are Tuesday and Saturday. The Tuesdays are from 12:15 to 12:45, so the people can come during their lunch hour. Mm-hmm. And Saturday is 10:30 to 11.
That's great. And is it free to the public?
Absolutely.
That's great.
Free. You get a little goodie bag. You can stay. You can ask questions.
Have you ever been there?
Yes.
You've been to the Montana Compounding Pharmacy?
Yes.
Okay, good, because I find it to be a very welcoming place when I walk in there. They're very nice. Tim greets you usually.
Right.
He looks up and is like, who just came in?
Right.
And he says hello, and then you go when you walk downstairs.
Like he used to be in the pharmacy world.
Right, but he's consultative. I always see him with the different patients and the patrons there. And then you go downstairs to the Thermography Center, which is where Kathy and Philippa are, and there's a whole, it's a whole other kind of wing to their wellness, the wellness center, which I think is great, and it's very calming and very relaxing. And so they just make you feel good when you come off the street.
So when I can't find you, that's where I go to track you down?
I will go. I'll go there first, then I'll go to the Top Hat or the Stocks.
Yes.
There you
go.
go.
I'll get myself primed.
Someone asked. Okay, go ahead.
On this
Kathy.
anniversary,
yes,
there'll be free blood pressure, and for a minimal fee, you can get a vitamin B12 shot.
Get out of here.
And 10% off professional supplements.
That's great. You got to go.
I am going to go because I went the last time I had my blood work done. They said I was low in vitamin D, and
if you live in Montana, you're low on vitamin D
because there's no sun.
When did you first notice that?
I noticed when I first moved here, and the water's hard. But wait a minute.
Yes.
But they also said that it has to do with the northern part. Even though we were having sun right now, and if we have it all summer, you still need the vitamin D.
Yes,
not
exactly
as much.
right.
I'm coming in this week, you guys, because...
are you going to come for the...
what should I come for?
Well, Stay Healthy While Traveling. You should be there, too.
That's right. I was thinking I thought you were going to go to the one for the psychiatric evaluation.
We don't have those yet.
That's too bad.
They're coming.
I do have $1 million or maybe $1 billion question for you.
Okay.
What's your reaction to or take on, or what do you want to share with our listeners about medical marijuana?
Woo. This is not a topic for me. This is really something for Tim, I think. It has its uses in medicine.
But in all seriousness, there's a discussion at some point about whether that might be therapeutic.
It's been around forever. Used to have it in a pill form called Marinol.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah. Still do. Well, I don't know. Since we're not dealing in those kind of drugs anymore. But it has its uses for the glaucoma patient, the cancer patient, all kinds of different things. But the medical marijuana, in my assessment, is overused. But then, so again, is alcohol. So what do you say?
Right.
Where's the line?
I just saw a phenomenal thing. I'm not a user, but a friend of mine, I was just with him this weekend, had chronic knee problem.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in a place where you could get, recreational marijuana.
Right.
And he went in and got one that was high in, the part of the, what is it, TPC or whatever?
TCP.
TCP that was good for the body. And he literally, I'm not exaggerating, took one or two,
puffs. Hits.
And 3 minutes later, he said the pain was gone for the first time in months.
Really?
Yeah. With 2 or 3 hits.
Was it masking the symptoms or was it...
He would already been to a doctor. The doctor had, he had prescribed, when it happens, take 3 Tylenol or whatever.
Well,
and it didn't work.
That's the same thing that's true with anything. I mean, it may work for your friend, but it may not work for the next person with a knee problem. And
so it's just one of the things in an arsenal of things that you could try.
Absolutely. Your friend could have come in and we could have set him up with some essential oils that would have helped relieve the
Sure.
knee pain. But we needed to know, is it
Right.
a torn meniscus? Well, he's not going to get much relief. But if it's arthritis, yeah, we can help
Right.
him with that with oils. We can help him with a topical anti-inflammatory. Of course, he would need a prescription for that.
Right.
But so there are other ways. So you don't have to take that anti-inflammatory and hope that it gets to that part of the body
Sure.
that's experiencing the pain.
Right.
Luckily,
I know
his
that-
marijuana made it to his
Right,
knee.
and some marijuana is in an ointment form that you can put on
Sure.
topically in certain places.
Sure. Well, you know, what's also interesting is that medical marijuana, you're right, it may be overused. A lot of people, it is, you know, I've got a problem, they get a green card, and now they're off to the races. Mm-hmm. And that's the question. Is it being abused or is it really in use? And are
It's
real
like-
doctors prescribing it?
It's like anything. You have real doctors that sit in their office. Every state, county, city in the United States and around the world has had them for years.
Right.
And sit and write, oh, you want some, what do you want? Oh, yeah, here.
Eh,
Go get it.
better than taking second halls.
But,
Well,
you know, what I'm saying is that over-prescribing and
Right.
using things has been around forever.
Right.
Well, let's talk about the oft mentioned and very topical right now opioid crisis, right? Which is a big deal right now in a lot of everywhere. It knows no state, city, county boundaries. It is just it's rampant across the country.
I think, this is my opinion,
This is Kathy talking.
tainted slightly by some information from my husband. There's overprescribing. People expect when they go to a doctor to get a prescription.
Right.
They came in with the problem and they want that problem fixed. So they're coming in with pain. They've got a constant headache that they can't get rid of. And what is it? Well, did anybody in the doctor's office ask them if it was stress or the kids driving them crazy? Is their husband beating them? I mean, you know, all
Right.
these different things. No, they'll just give them something to ease the headache. Well, that's not getting rid of the problem.
Well, and
That's the idea behind. That's what medicine should be doing: is addressing the issue that the patient comes in with, not just writing a prescription.
right, and the other compounding factor is when whatever the symptom is goes away, nobody ever throws away what's left over.
Never.
So you got medicine chests filled with all sorts of things, depending on what how big the family is.
And some of them which will do them absolutely no good, and some of them which have sat there and gotten more potent,
right, and
which is dangerous.
And then
Is that
children and other members of the family and visitors and others have complete access to it.
Sure.
But I think so. So to your point, like it's funny. A friend saw him last night in town, and they had just talked about having back surgery. And I said, "What are you taking?" That was my question. What are you taking? 5 days out of surgery. I'm on ibuprofen, and I've been on heavy doses of ibuprofen. I said, "What did they prescribe you when you got out?" And she was saying some version of oxycodone or whatever it was, because it was pretty involved. I said, "How quickly did you get off that?" She goes, "Well, when I started to itch, and I mean, she started to talk about the different symptoms of taking it for too long, and then you stopped. She weaned off, and that weaning off is the hardest part."
Well, look at how many celebrities and well-known people when they do the autopsies afterwards, their bodies are racked
Right.
Yeah.
from overuse of opiates
Well,
and others.
if you go for anything that you need prednisone for,
right.
you never get it, and they just stop you. You always have to cut back. Have you ever
Wean.
seen them Medrol packs that start with this and then you wean?
Right.
Because you can't just stop it. So, but I think getting back to the heart of it is that people should be, and I think this generation has become more adapted than our parents.
Right.
Their physicians are no longer the gods of medicine. They are partners with them. And their pharmacist is a partner with them. Tell me what I'm taking. Tell me why I'm taking it. Tell me what I'm supposed to expect to be done. Mm-hmm. And is this something that I'm going to take for the rest of my life, or do we get off of it? So there's lots of possibilities.
More transparency in that relationship.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Let me switch gears for a moment. I want to get back to thermography. So what's the process when somebody comes in and a physician is referred a patient?
They don't have to refer a patient.
Oh, they don't?
No, it's a non-invasive procedure.
Okay, so anybody can come in and get it.
Anybody can come in.
So they come in, And what happened? How long does it take? Run me through the drill on thermography.
First time through, intake on one area for women's, say, breast, which is what we do the most of.
Right.
We schedule 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We send them forms to fill out that they bring back. We go through the intake forms with them, and the scans take about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on,
right,
how cooperative and how they know
Sure.
they're, 90 degrees, 45 degrees.
Right.
Half bodies and full bodies, we plan an hour.
Right.
Usually people that are doing those, I shouldn't say everybody, because a lot by people just use them as a check.
Right. And this is elective, so it's not covered by health insurance?
Yeah, by our biggest insurer in the state of Montana, it is not covered. It used to be covered by everybody years ago, and it's like anything, that gets. It's like when we didn't have Medishare in the state for a while,
right?
But now we've got it back, so we're going to get it there, I'm sure,
right?
Because women are beginning to demand that. I insist that everybody send in their forms to their insurance company saying the more people that send them in, the sooner we hope to get it paid.
Sure.
But it's not an awful amount.
Let's do a quick ID. Our guests are Philippa Crawford and Kathy Calcagno from Montana Compounding Pharmacy and Wellness Center at 111 North Higgins. You could also find them on the web at montanacompoundingrx.com. or on Facebook, where they have a lot of information about their 20th anniversary celebration that's taking place the whole month of May.
So you said it wasn't a heck of a lot of money. So if somebody's coming in, I think it's good advertising for sort of a breast scan. What it would generally run?
It runs $185.
Okay, that's not
little caveat on the breast scan.
Right.
First year only, we do 2-3 months apart.
Mm-hmm.
Have to establish a baseline for the breast. They're very vascular, so we need to know that what's showing up is what's going to be for long term. And then those are compared every year forward from the first one. Half body.
Baseline.
Right.
Exactly. 375, and a full body is 450.
450. And
nobody really needs a full body unless they have problems with their legs that they don't know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're having neuropathy pain that nobody can figure out. Otherwise, the half body is sufficient. It includes all your major organs.
Right.
What usually is the cause of neuropathy pain? Is it just
diabetes? Probably.
It can be that
chemo, really.
Injuries.
Right.
We've had some insurance companies send us people that have been in accidents to check to see if, in fact, what they're claiming is there.
So verification. How is it working with the insurance companies? Like, do you guys have a lot of interface with them in terms?
No.
So
no, I mean that would be a whole nother personnel to.
But can you?
You mean to file these, and since they're not covering them for thermography, why bother?
So flex spending doesn't take care of.
Flex spending will take care of it.
Okay.
I'm just saying that the insurance companies, and right now everybody's deductibles are so high. Too.
Yeah,
that's another problem. But hopefully we'll get that.
I'm going to take Kathy into that area.
Oh no! Don't.
That's during the week.
No, let's not go
this
down.
This is not
the
on a Sunday morning.
Issue.
Although you would think you could talk about it on a Sunday. So May 20th anniversary. Tim is the other man with the plan who is at the pharmacy right now because I spoke to him earlier today.
Oh, good.
Or actually earlier this week.
You were putting in your order.
I called to say hello to make sure. Anyway. And you guys have worked together how long?
Almost 6 years.
Really?
So what's your background?
It's been that long.
Philippa, where are you from?
Yeah, come on, give us a story.
I want to know Kathy's background.
The name of the show is, what do you know? We want to know more.
I'm an East Coast gal, lived in London for 7 years, California for 10, and Montana almost 30.
How do you know Denny so well?
Because I worked at XT93.
Is that right?
When I first got here, that was my first job. I was in radio for 2 years.
Get out.
No.
Hello.
Scott has a job offer for you later.
So I worked for both of those.
In what department were you working?
Sales.
Boy, there was enthusiasm on that, wasn't there?
That's another whole show.
That's when you first landed on these shores of Montana.
Right.
And Kathy?
Where are you from?
Okay, let's see. Originally born and raised in Southern California. Both Tim and I are third-generation Californians, and we finally had enough, and we moved here 21 years ago.
Right.
And then he started the pharmacy, and we started the thermography in 2008. My undergraduate degree is in finance and economics, and I have a master's in financial planning. So you can see I'm using them to the utmost.
Yes.
Yeah.
And is your business meeting your financial plan? Is it doing as well as you thought it would be at this point?
Is anybody's ever really up to their expectations?
Well, it depends on expectations. I've exceeded most of mine, but that's a whole other story.
Right, that's the thing. That's the sieve.
Right. Are the patients more female than male?
In thermography or
in both in both areas? What do you think?
I would say yes, but then again, I don't know because I don't ever see what's being filled in the prescription. Mm-hmm. So is the wife just picking it up? Or
right.
I don't know that, but for thermography, yes, more women. We get the men because their wives send them usually.
Right.
They weren't given a choice, but we do have a few men that have come on their own.
Yeah. Sure, because they might have non-specific issues, and they want to get a half body scan and find out what's going on.
We have a gentleman who we're tracking him for his cancer and how it's
And has the equipment improved over time? I mean, is the current generation of thermography equipment as sensitive as it needs to be?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, we're butting up against a break. You are listening to What Do You Know on Newstalk KGVO, proudly presented by Dawn Maddox, Glacier Sotheby's International Realty. When we come back, we'll have our final segment with the gals from Montana Compounding Pharmacy and Wellness Center. Back after this. Okay, we are back.
So in the Wellness Center, there also is a service provided to patients that's referred to as EFT. And could you explain to our listeners what EFT is and what the benefit is?
Yes, EFT is emotional freedom technique developed in the 80s. It's also known as tapping. So it's self-applied, and you're tapping basically on acupuncture points. So the idea of this wellness, this whole wellness,
right,
is that you have to address different parts of the body, and one of those is actually the emotional state. So stress and just being able to handle fears. And so it's a wonderful, easy technique to learn and to use because it is self-applied to be able to address those issues.
So you teach people to tap.
Yes.
And so they can do it when they feel anxious or when they have, time. Is it sort of like a yoga-ish, outcome from it in a way?
Yes, it calms, it balances, but it can be used for setting goals, but working on fears, traumas, or just the daily grind.
And how would it work on fears? I'm just trying to,
so
visualize
spider
it.
fears. Worked with fear of flying. A woman who didn't like bugs coming in her face. So just any kind of.
So somebody gets on a plane, they're afraid of flying. They can do the tapping, right?
Well, we work with them. I work with them beforehand so they can eliminate that, release that.
Oh,
fear.
good.
Right.
And it works. You can release fear as a result of that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting. And again, in the wellness area, you have all the physical things, but we have this mental health issue, right? And this is one. Are there other techniques or other resources available?
Yes, there are many. And Kathy and I really love to get information for people. So when they have a question or they need more information, whether it's how to reduce stress or, again, supplements, or if they're going into a crisis, areas of stress management.
And what about anxiety and trauma? They come in, they find out they have something. I mean, there's going to be a result from this, right? Somebody comes in and their scan comes back, their thermography scan comes back, and it's all inflamed in a number of places, and I'm sure you've had people like that. Mm-hmm. You obviously have an approach that kind of maybe dovetails along with that to try to relieve some of their anxiety as a result of the test, right? Who reads the test to them? Goes to their physician?
What happens is we send the report that we've written up and the scans to EMI electronically.
Mm-hmm.
It is read by a doctor, and they come back with their recommendations. So emotional doesn't really show up in this, but let's just take some examples.
Right.
Their mouth's all inflamed.
Right.
And what are they going to do? It's dental disease, probably a deep infection from dental work that was done years ago. So we have dentists that we would recommend
they go to.
People come back. They've got a lot of issues. We highly recommend going up to the Wellness Education Center in Kalispell to Jeanette Cheney, who does guided juice fast. Somebody comes in, takes one of the ZRT tests home, finds out that their hormones are out of balance. What are they going to do? We recommend a naturopath for them to go to get all the other tests done and try and get those hormone levels balanced out. So it's, as I said, it's a working...
Well, then you're an entry point into that, right? People come in, they get a good read on what their current wellness is, and in the areas where they are unwell, you can make the kind of referrals or the recommendations in order to bring about balance.
And if
that's the key, balance.
I thought I'd get around to balance.
Can't really ever get rid of the stress. It's always about balance.
Right, it's about balance.
And if there's young women out there who are questionable with, am I going into menopause? Am I in perimenopause? Come in, pick up one of the ZRT blood spotting tests and see what your tests come out as. Because a lot of women will go into it at a very early age, in their early 40s, and some not until their, early 50s. So it's just a matter. Everybody's an individual. Right.
And as people use medications and other things to change what would be normal, for example, like to, have pregnancy later in life than maybe normally you would, that has residual effects on their system as a result of that.
Probably does.
Good.
How important, let's find...
Last question, Scott, because we're running...
Yeah, I know we are. Screening and screenings for different types of illnesses. Do you do a lot of screenings there?
No,
Other
not
than
really.
blood pressure, kind of vital?
We can do blood pressure. We can give them the test for... what are all the different tests that we have? We have the adrenal test. We have the hormones.
The CRT.
Sleep
hormones, yes, for men and women.
Testosterone levels.
Yeah.
But the point is, you don't wait until something's wrong or when you have
if you're a man, you do.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But you shouldn't.
No,
right.
You shouldn't.
You have blood coming out of your ears before you're going to go in for an appointment. I'm going to set Scott up for an appointment.
The key here is
birthday present for you.
Try to get to just figuring out, why don't I feel the same? Yeah, I'm getting older, but what else is going on? When you can't get out of bed in the morning, is it because you're not getting enough sleep? Are you depressed? Where are you on this scale?
Right.
So we can't answer all those questions, but between the patient, the pharmacist, the physician, the biomat, the essential oils, the supplements, we can get you on a track to feeling your best. That's the object here. That's the goal, is to get everybody feeling their optimum.
And that's a great way to end the show. And thank Kathy and Philippa for joining us.
You.
And we look forward to many more opportunities to go into your facility and find out more about what's going on, as all of our listeners should.
Absolutely. Montana Compounding Pharmacy and Wellness Center, 111 North Higgins Street, MontanaCompoundingRx.com, as well as on Facebook. Thanks again, Philippa and Kathy.
Thank you.
You were a great guest. Take care. See you next week, Scott.
See you then, Arnie. Thank you for listening to What Do You Know?
I can't wait for the next show, Scott.
I'm excited too, Arnie. If you'd like to suggest a guest, send me an email at scottrichman@townsquaremedia.com. We'll see you next week. And thanks for listening to Newstalk KGVO,